Hello and welcome back to In the Corner, episode 44. I'm Cash. Today's Friday, April 25th. We just had the weigh-in for one of the biggest fights of the year, the biggest fight in the UK this year, for sure, and that is Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Really, Eubank versus Benn, three. Their fathers fought twice, two wars. Chris Eubank Sr. won the first one. Second one was a draw. A lot of people thought Nigel Benn won that. But anyways, we get to run it back in a different way. Legacy is on the line, born rivals, and so much is at stake, and I can't wait for it. And when I say so much is at stake, it's weird because this is a fight about legacy. It's not a fight about titles. Neither of these guys have ever won a world title. Conor Benn has never even won a British title, even gone for like an area title. So these really are not two elite level boxers and stuff, but they've made their way. They're decent boxers, and they made their way with their father's name, and they headline a stadium sold out on a pay-per-view. And I can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. There is so much going into this fight. All of the build-up with this fight meaning to have happened 2.5 years ago with the drug test, then all the back and forth, Eubank slapping Benn with the egg, then, Eubank missing weight today, Conor Benn, jumping up 2 weight classes, and all the meanwhile, the main story is that they're the sons of their fathers who had these brilliant fights, world champions, except now the fight isn't just built on what their fathers did, it's between them. They have true bad blood, just like their dads did, and they're going to settle it in the ring just like they did. And, man, I can't wait. Huge card. We're going to break all of it down. We're going to talk about everything that's been going on this week. I'll give you my final predictions for this and every fight on the undercard. We're going to talk about UFC Kansas City. Big UFC announcement just happened for 318. It's official. It's going to be Dustin Poirier's retirement fight versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. Can't wait for that. We're going to talk about so much more. So let's hop into this Eubank Benn card. First off, we just got to talk about some stuff that's been going on this week. Conor Benn asked BJ Saunders to overlook Eubank's hand wrapping. I think Conor Benn kind of dismissed that and said, not really. But I thought that was hilarious. Eubank and Saunders definitely have a bad history with each other. Saunders beat Eubank a while ago. I think he handed him his first career loss, if I'm correct. And, they've been talking about rematching for a long time. They hate each other, so I thought that was pretty funny on Benn's part. The fight is going to be in an 18 by 18 ring, very small. That's going to favor Conor Benn. I think that people forget that Eubank isn't like this super, dancer on the ring type fighter like Shakur maybe, who can really use that. Eubank he kind of likes the fight. So I think that we're going to be in for a war tomorrow night. It is definitely Conor Benn's, in his favor. He is much more aggressive. That's his thing. He's a destroyer. He just goes straight for you. So we'll see what happens. But I like that it's in a small ring. The WBC are going to back Eubank versus Benn for a shot at Canelo. And that is about the dumbest thing the WBC has done. They do a ton of stupid stuff, but we're talking about two guys. One of them is a middleweight. One of them is a welterweight. They're fighting with no relation to the WBC. I don't think that either of them have ever fought for any kind of WBC title. And the WBC are backing them to get a shot at the World Championship against the guy at 168? What? That makes no sense at all. Obviously, we know this is possible. If Eubank wins, I do think he gets the Canelo fight. But I hate that the WBC is putting their foot forward and saying, we'll support it. I mean, it's one thing, too, when the fight comes on the table and they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's another thing to actively say, we're gonna work for this and stuff, when they wouldn't let David Benavidez fight Canelo for the longest time. They will just give Canelo whatever he wants because he wants easy money, and Canelo wipes the floor with Chris Eubank Jr. He just does. But, we're going to talk about the weight situation in a bit. Let's run through this undercard, and I'll give you my prediction. So opening up the card is Chris Smith, Brandon Glanton, which is crazy because this is a really good fight. Chris Smith is coming off a defeat in a unification match against Zurdo Ramirez. He didn't look great. I thought that he actually fought pretty bravely and stuff and was able to go the distance with Zurdo in just a grueling fight. And that's kind of the way he fights a lot of his fights. And I think a lot of people are starting to question how much does he really have left. I think that some people were suggesting retirement for him after the Zurdo defeat. I still think he's got some to give. I think that he wins this fight, but there is very much upset potential. He's in there with Brandon Glanton, who, shout out ATL, but, is a guy that we haven't really heard of too much. We haven't seen him in a lot of big fights. And, this is his opportunity. And he's saying this is my biggest fight of his career. And, when this fight got announced, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's CBS's comeback fight. Brandon Glanton has made this potentially fight of the night, just like with the excitement, like we're like he's been really good at the trash talk all week. He's brought up the hype a lot, and I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm a little bit surprised it's 12 rounds. In fact, every fight on this card is 12 rounds, which I don't know if most of them should be. Clark versus Riley should be 12 rounds because that's for the British title. Maybe Yard versus Arthur 3, but even that I'm not really sure. But this one, I think Smith McKenna probably should just be 10, but whatever. I think this is going to be a good fight. These are two big punchers. Glanton is 20-2 with 17 knockouts, and I was watching something, and they're saying, like, look, his 2 losses were away fights. He lost them by split decision and majority decision to David Light and Soslan Asbarov, both of whom were undefeated. So, when you look at those decisions, he's like, okay, so he fought pretty well. He's going to be the away fighter again tonight. Again, this is the biggest fight of his career. I do think there is potential for an upset. I think there always is, and I do think that somewhere on this card we're going to get a big upset. But I just think that CBS goes and takes this one. I don't think that he stops him. He could. I think, though, he's going to go the distance, and it's going to be a really fun fight. But I'd have to say CBS on points. That's how I'll take this one. But I'm excited for it. I think it's a good comeback fight. And again, CBS is still right up there. Like, he wins this, he's very much primed for a world title shot. Whether it's against the winner of Badu Jack versus Noel Mikhailian, while Alpataya and Zerto fight later this year. He's very much in a position to get another world title crack before he retires. Next fight on the card is also at cruiserweight. So a little bit of conversations between them. Brandon Glanton calling Chev Clark out of the press conference. But, there's going to be Chev Clark versus Vidal Riley. Chev Clark's first fight since his defeat to Leonardo Mosquera on the Monaco card in December. It was a close loss. He got hurt early, and that kind of just screwed up his whole momentum. I think it was like around I think it was pretty even on the cards. I believe I had it 6 rounds to 6, but just with that knockdown, you give it to Mosquera. So, wasn't his best outing, and the one before that against Apache, he looked good until he didn't. In the last few rounds, got hurt. So Clark's one of those guys where he's got a lot of power. But he takes a lot of shots too. And Vidal Riley, he's got some power to him, but I don't think he's the same power as Clark. Clark is a very strong puncher, and this really is just the question of who's going to take this. Because you look at Clark, he's getting up there, not old, but he's 34, he's got to get on the world title run, and that's what he was trying to do with the fight against Mosquera for the European. After that, he was going to be full steam ahead for world title shots. He's hoping to get this one back on track. You look at Vidal. Vidal is 27, so much younger. Vidal's probably the better boxer, I would say. I think that Clark is really good, but I'm not sure. This is a really tough one to call. This is probably fight of the night. These guys they both can crack. They both have a lot of boxing skill, and it really is just a question of who has really been tested. And we know that Clark has been tested. He's been fighting at a higher level professionally. As for Riley, he hasn't yet, and he hasn't been terribly active either. Clark had 4 fights last year. He was one of the most active fighters of 2024, and I think Vidal only had 2 fights maybe, and one of those was like a 6-rounder at heavyweight. So, he really hasn't been active. I will say that he was supposed to fight Isaac Chamberlain. This is a huge upgrade from that after Chamberlain pulled out. I think this is a fantastic fight. It's one we've been waiting for a while, and I think there's a lot on the line. As for who to pick, I know it's really tough. I am a big fan of Vidal. I also like Chev Clark a lot. Part of me is like, you can go with the experience and power of Chev, or you can go with the freshness and, just like skill of Vidal. And I don't know. Part of me feels like Vidal really will be a world champion one day, but I don't know if that day is today. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one, which I hate doing, but it is just too hard to call. Maybe tomorrow I'll have a better idea, but as of right now, it is just too tough to call, and it can go either way. A true 50-50 match. Next up is Liam Smith, Aaron McKenna. This one is very much old guard versus new guard. You've got Liam Smith, former world champion. He's coming off a 1.5-year layoff after his loss to Eubank Jr. in their rematch. And then you got Aaron McKenna, who's a very, very good fighter. Kind of underrated. Not underrated, I'd say, but maybe underground. Hasn't gotten his big shot yet. He's 19-0. He's been waiting for a big opportunity. He gets a shockingly big opportunity to fight in a stadium fight on pay-per-view versus Liam Smith. And, this is just a true question of where is Liam Smith at? Does he still have it? If he still has it, he should be able to win this. McKenna has never fought anyone near the level of Liam Smith. So if Liam Smith can, throw back the years and get another good performance in, I think he should be able to win this. I really do. But it just depends on how much is left. Aaron McKenna's a tough guy. He is an all-action fighter. He's exciting, at least from what I can remember. And, I expect him to make this a good fight and to really, push Liam Smith. And I see people saying for both of them, we'll see what happens in the later rounds, because Aaron McKenna's not as used to going 12 rounds as Liam Smith is. But also Liam Smith's on the older side. So who knows? I'm going to say Liam Smith, but this is the one that I think you've got a lot of upset potential. And I'm going to pick Liam Smith, as I think that most people are, but be very ready for an upset. And then the co-main event, a bit of a pointless fight, but you've got Anthony Yarde versus Lyndon Arthur 3. Obviously, Anthony Yarde lost the first fight in a bit of an upset to Lyndon Arthur. They then rematched, and Yarde stopped him quite early. So we're going to see what happens on Saturday. To be honest, I think Anthony Yarde should totally win this one. But my worry is that he hasn't really been, in the toughest of fights recently. He had, since the Beterbiev fight, he had 2 fights which he ended in the first or second round. Then he had a fight with, I can't remember the guy's name, but who took him all 10 rounds and really challenged him. And it was not a guy that Anthony Yarde should be going the distance with. So you put him in there with Lyndon Arthur, who is definitely better than that guy, but somebody that Anthony Yarde should be able to get him out of there. He has done it before, but has also, been beaten by Lyndon Arthur before. So, again, this one has upset potential. It really should be Anthony Yarde. He wins this, and he is going to get a big fight at 175 if he takes it. I don't know how much hunger he has. I feel like he's just kind of dilly-dallied around for the past 2 years. So, I don't know. I'd like him to get in there with Joshua Buatsi. That's the fight that I want. I don't think that Anthony Yarde jumps the race and fights Callum Smith or David Benavidez. I think that he wins this. He and Joshua Buatsi are right even in those rankings, and you have the potential to make a huge fight. And a world title eliminator, potentially. Big fight in Britain. So I think Anthony Yarde wins this one, probably by stoppage. And, I think we're in for a good fight there. And then the main event, Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. Oh, my God, I can't wait. There's just so much on the line, so much ferocity and hate between these two. I honestly think they're really funny together. When they were on the press conference the other day, and I did actually like Eubank's, quote about pain and stuff, but when he did start it and was just like, I asked myself, what is pain? And Conor's just like, oh, shut up, Chris. Because Eubank just, he does kind of go on for, 5 minutes and just has all these, intellectual things. And sometimes it's just like, dude, shut up. What are you talking about? That one was nice. That one was emotional. He's talking about his father, his late brother. I thought that was a good moment. But, yeah, I think this is going to be a really good fight. And, again, this is one that it's so hard to call because these two guys are just such wild cards. We don't know what we're going to get. Both of them are in positions with their weight that we're not really used to seeing. Eubank missed weight this morning. At first, he came in at 160.2 pounds. They gave him an hour to not rehydrate, but to lose some more weight. He came in at 160.05. He was 1/20th of a pound over, and they fined him $500,000. I couldn't believe they fined him that much. That is ridiculous. I mean, $500,000 for that's literally costing him $100,000 for a 100th of a pound. Just think about how ridiculous that is. I thought that was so stupid, but contract's a contract, I guess. On top of the $100,000 for the egg slap, I mean, geez. But anyways, he didn't quite make weight. And then Conor Benn came in at 156.4. So he is way below the 160 limit. And looking at pictures of him, I was like, oh, dude, this guy's weighing at least 170. And of course, he's used to fighting at 147. He's going to drop down and then he'll be, or maybe not 170, but at least 165 or so. No, he wasn't even at 160. He really is not far off from being an average, a normally sized welterweight. A lot of these guys, look at Boots Ennis. He probably weighs 175 walk around. I mean, Conor Benn walks around 157 we're seeing. I mean, it's nuts. So, this is a big jump, and Eubank is going to be struggling with this weight a lot, as we already saw he has been, and he isn't done yet. He has to rehydrate, but only to an extent. He can rehydrate to 170 tomorrow morning, and then after that, he'll allow to balloon up to whatever weight he goes to. He's probably going to walk in the ring about 180 if he can get up there. Well, Conor Benn's going to come in at 155. So, he's going to have a big size disadvantage in the ring, but is Eubank's, rehydration clause and his weight cut going to affect him? So you've got, double-edged swords with both guys, and it's just such an interesting fight. But listen, if I have to choose somebody, it's going to be Chris Eubank Jr. I think that Chris Eubank Jr. has been altogether more active. I know that he didn't fight for like a year or so, but I think since the initial fight got canceled, he's had 3 fights. Granted, he was stopped in one of those. Conor Bennett's only had 2, I believe, and Chris Eubank has fought them against tougher competition, I'd say. Again, as he lost one of them. I don't know. I think that he's more experienced. I think that he's bigger, and I think that he may be the better boxer. I think Conor Benn is more power and more aggression, but we haven't really seen that power from Conor Benn since he got nacked for the drug test. I'm just saying. So, again, there's so many ways this could go. This is another one that I'm going to pick Eubank, as most people are, but be very, very ready for a Ben upset. I wouldn't be shocked at all. This is like a 55-45 fight. I can't wait. Tomorrow night in London, everything goes down. That is the Eubank-Ben preview. My picks are Chris Eubank Jr., probably by decision. I don't think he stops Ben. I think he takes him to the scorecards, but I think that if he does, it's going to be a pretty decent win. Otherwise, Ben could stop him. Or I don't know. Anything could happen. But I'd say Eubank wins this by decision. I think Anthony Yarde by stoppage. I think Liam Smith by maybe late stoppage, either late stoppage or decision. I'm sitting on the fence of Chev Clark and Vidal Riley. I don't know. That one I don't think goes the distance. It could, but I don't know. I think it's going to be great, or it's going to be boring. We'll see. And then CBS Glanton, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to go the distance. I think it's going to be a war, but I'm going to have Bill Smith winning by decision. So that's the Eubank-Ben preview. Let's hop on over to UFC. Now we're going to talk about 2 UFC topics. First up, we've got the official confirmation 318 New Orleans, Louisiana. It is the retirement of the Diamond. The Diamond. Dustin Poirier. He runs it back against Max Holloway for the 3rd time. They're doing a trilogy fight. This is going to be for the BMF title. And to be honest, man, I think that this is a fantastic fight for what we're doing next. For the lightweight division, there's a lot of stuff going on. Poirier's still up there. This is going to be his last fight, which I think is a good call. And he's doing it against Max Holloway. They fought twice before, and I think that Holloway is coming off a loss as well to Ilia Topuria. This is his true lightweight debut, if you ask me. And he's gonna be in there tough. Or maybe it's not his true lightweight debut, but his new lightweight debut. But I can't wait for this. I think it's gonna be it's gonna be a really fun one. Poirier is 2 up over Max Holloway. It's important to remember that. I think that he's actually looking at it here. Yeah, he finished him in the first meeting with submission and then beat him by unanimous decision in 2019. So it's questionable who you pick here. And again, like when you look at it, Max Holloway is a guy who, when he fights people, he doesn't usually win the rematches. I mean, he lost to Volk 3 times. He's lost to Poirier twice. And I kind of feel like it could happen again. But part of me is, I would have picked Max Holloway to win this fight. And again, it's way too early. But I would say right now I'm leaning towards Max Holloway. I think he's been on a better run as of recent. Poirier has been on a good run, but this is his last fight. Max Holloway's still going to be around for a bit more. I love this BMF title fight. I think that some people may groan and say, oh, it's a BMF title fight. They don't have a real title fight on the card, which is true. That's fair. But you also have to remember this is Dustin Poirier's retirement fight. They want to do it in New Orleans. He has to be in the main event, and he's not going to retire on a fight night. So you kind of have to do a pay-per-view. Max is the BMF champion. That fight makes sense right now. I have no objections to this whatsoever. We need to figure out what is going to happen at 317. That still hasn't been announced, and 318 has. But, man, I can't wait for this fight. It's going to be a war. But, yeah, let's talk about the card that goes down tomorrow night in Kansas City. And that is, of course, Carlos Prates versus Ian Machado Garry. Man, this is going to be a good one. And, again, this one is really tough to call. I think this is such a fantastic fight at welterweight. Ian Garry really is showing that he will take those fights. He will take the tough fights. He's about that, and I love that. I think that's really shows a lot of character. It's just, man, he's in with the fighting nerds. They're 19-0 in the UFC, and it is just so hard to pick against a fighting nerd. If I would pick against any in their upcoming fights, I guess that Kyle Barajo is about to fight Khamzat, and I think he's going to lose to Khamzat. But right now, I would say... Again, this one is so hard to find. I'm going to pick... Oh, man, because Carlos Prates just has that exciting finishing ability. But I can totally see Ian Garry just kind of coasting to a decision here and outclassing. I really don't know what to say. Ian Garry he wasn't defeated. He just had his first loss. And Carlos Prates, I don't believe that he is... he's He's not undefeated. He's 21-6. And again, this is his toughest fight by far. I don't think it's Ian Garry's toughest fight. I think he showed a lot against Shavkat. I really don't want to pick against the Fighting Nerds, so I don't want to fence it. Man, this fight is just so good. Let's say, okay, I'll say this. If it goes inside the distance, it's going to be Prates. I think it's very likely. This goes to the cards, Ian Garry wins. I'll say that. So I don't have to actually pick, but I am kind of picking. Okay, co-main event, Anthony Smith, Zhang Mingyang. Yeah, Anthony Smith is going to lose this one. Mingyang is coming for that ranking. He's a minus 520 favorite. I see that one going. I do like Anthony Smith a lot. I saw he wanted to start his own Power Slap League, which is interesting. But that should be a good one at 205. Giga Chikads versus David Onama. It's a good fight there. You've got Michel Pereira returning against Abus Magomedov at middleweight. Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. And then Ikram Alaskarov versus Audrey Muniz. So it's a really good fight night main card. I'm looking forward to it. There's some bangers on there. That'll be Saturday in Kansas City. I'm looking forward to it. And this whole card is going to be really fun. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be a good one. It's weird. UFC takes 1 week off, and it feels like we haven't had a UFC fight card in so long, but it's literally just been 2 weeks since the huge 314 that was. Looking forward to that one. And then we hop over to Florence, Italy, where we have BKFC, Camozzi versus Bici. This is like the Rocky story. It's meant to be Camozzi versus Hunt, too. I hate that's not happening, but what are you going to do? They've got Andrea Bici stepping in. I think it's maybe his BKFC debut. He's in with Chris Camozzi, who is the cruiserweight champion. I like the story, but come on, Chris Camozzi's totally going to win this one by really whatever he wants. Co-main event is going to be Rico Franco versus Jimmy Sweeney. I think this is for like a European title, maybe at welterweight. I don't really know. That should be a good one. I don't really know who to pick. I'll probably go with Rico Franco. And then, just a good card on top of that. Really looking forward to that one. That should be a really exciting event. Again, BKFC, we haven't had a BKFC event since last week. I thought it was longer, but yeah, it really was just last week. Wow. Again, they're going on a good run. They just announced Franco Tenaglia versus Tony Soto too. I think that those are the right names. That's a hell of a fight. They fought in Spain in October. It was a war. They're going to fight June 21st at BKFC 76, I want to say, in Texas. So really like the schedule that BKFC is putting together for this summer. I think that's a great one. It's a very vicious fight, and we were looking forward to a good card tomorrow in Italy. And then we got 2 other small cards this weekend, which I'm going to try and see if I can tune in for. We'll see. Tonight, Eric Tudor returns in a 10-rounder against Kevin Johnson. This is weird. This is kind of a Golden Boy event, but it's also not. I think it's actually by Paco Presents. That's the card. It says it's on the LA Friday Night Fight Series. So, again, I don't really know what that is, but Golden Boy's been promoting it a little bit. He's on the card, as is Javier Meza, who is another Golden Boy fighter. Eric Tudor, he hasn't been super impressive recently, I don't think. He's not a big knockout puncher, at least from what I can remember. I haven't been super excited by him in his last fight. And, I'm not sure. He did lose not long ago. He hasn't really been super active. He did have 3 fights in 2024. So I guess he has been decently active. I don't know, man. I think he'll win this one. He's in with Kevin Johnson. Should be a good fight. Jason Valoria is on that as well in an 8-rounder. I believe he's in the co-main event against Alejandro Young Wong, who's only 12-1, so that should be a decent fight. And then over here in Atlanta, you've got Ashton Silver turning, which has been getting no promotion from MVP. It's so odd to me, because I still think he's a future world champion one day. He's in with Nicholas Polanco. This is a fight that he should win. I think they're just kind of, trying to take an easy fight for him. He's 22-8-1. This will be on BLK Prime. I don't have BLK Prime. I think it's like a subscription. I'm probably going to get that because I do really want to see him fight. I'm a big fan of H2O, and I do think he'll put on another good knockout performance. Co-main event will be Amado Vargas stepping up to 10 rounds versus Angel Luna, who is 20-15 and 1 draw. But yeah, that's pretty crazy that he's taking on that low caliber of an opponent in a 10-rounder. Really odd to me. But anyways, that should be a decent doubleheader. I don't know if there's really anyone too decent worth mentioning on the undercard. There's like 15 fights on here I'm seeing. Don't know how much of that I'll be watching, but at least watch those 2 fights probably. So good night of action, good weekend. Really, really excited for Eubank Benn and UFC Kansas City, BKFC Italy as well. So we should get some good stuff on Saturday. All right, let's hop over to some more news. Alexander Usyk, Daniel Dubois 2 is now being planned for Wembley Stadium on July 19th. So we're hearing it's going to be July 12th. They've now pushed it back a week. This was apparently because they didn't want to clash with the Ring Magazine event, and this was reported by the Ring Magazine. I don't know if this is going to be under Turkey. I've been hearing it's just going to be a straight-up Frank Warren Queensberry card, which is very surprising to me, but also not. So we'll see what the final result ends up being, but as of right now, it looks like it could just be a Queensberry card, which I'd be shocked by if His Excellency didn't want to put on the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship, unless this is Queensberry kind of saying, like, look, dude, you're leaving us, you're doing TKO, we can't keep on giving you all of our fighters. So who knows what's going to happen. I believe that them moving it back a date could be HE signing up to join on, and them deciding, hey, I don't want to do this at the same event as the New York one, which is weird because they're doing a New York and a Saudi event in the same weekend. Not on the same day, but same weekend, and they wouldn't really clash with times anyways, but I'm just excited for this to get announced, and I'm happy it's happening. I am. I just want to know what we're going to do with Joseph Parker in the meantime. Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios is reportedly set for July 19th or 26th in Vegas or San Antonio. So it's not really set, but we're hearing it's agreed. We just don't know what date / city it's going to land in. And it'll be free on Amazon Prime Video with no pay-per-view. I do like that. I'm a little surprised because Pacquiao is a big star, but I like that he won't be fighting on pay-per-view, and PBC's getting a good schedule together. We should be getting the Tank Roach 2 announcement soon for June 21st. I'm kind of worried that date is no longer happening, but I think it should be. And yeah, man, this is an interesting fight. Mario Barrios hasn't really fought. He hasn't really defended his WBC world title against the most notable opposition. Manny Pacquiao is very notable, but he's also been retired for like 3+ years, so it's a really, really odd fight. I guess Manny Pacquiao still wants to come back, and if he wins this, it'd be great, but surely, win or lose, he can't stay. He can't keep fighting. I think at some point, you have to retire. So we'll see, but it's an interesting one for sure. I'm very curious to see where they'll take that. Where they're going to take that fight, if it happens even. Islam Makhachev is apparently in camp. Is he fighting Ilia Topuria UFC 317? We talked about in the last episode. That seems more and more likely that the UFC said, you got to fight Ilia June 28th, dude. We're sorry, but you got to do something. We cannot allow you to wait around. And it seems like that could be happening, and they're forcing his hand, saying you gotta fight. We should be getting an announcement on that surely in the next week or so. I can't believe we still haven't gotten one. We literally got the announcement for 318 today. Still haven't gotten anything for 317. It's nuts, but I'm really excited to see what goes down there. Brian Norman versus Jin Sasaki has been announced for June 19th in Tokyo, Japan. I know it's in Japan. I think it's in Tokyo. This should be a good fight, dude. Listen, I think that Norman is certainly going to win this. I'm not going to lie. I think that he is definitely in the better position. I think he's a better fighter, but I think it could be a fun fight. I think that Jin Sasaki is really fun to watch. I just don't think that he's as skilled of a boxer as Norman is. And I like that Norman's going over to Japan for this one. It'll be a good early morning fight. Co-main event, you're going to have Christian Araneta versus Thanansok Simsuri for the vacant IBF light flyweight title after Masamichi Ibuki vacated that to go and win the flyweight title against Angel Ayala. So that's a really good competitive fight in the co-main event. Like that we're still getting 2 world title fights. And this is a good one. Jin Sasaki's got to be like the biggest fighter in Japan. He's at 147 pounds, and most of them are at like 118. So I think it's a good fight. I think that Norman will win this, and I like that he's staying active after being out for so long. Literally less than a 3-month turnaround. After this, he's gonna fight Boots. I feel it. I think that he's ready for it. He's gonna get 2 solid title defense wins in, and then he's gonna be like, yeah, let's do it. So I'm looking forward to that. The WBA will order Garcia Romero winners, and the winner of Ryan Garcia Rolly Romero and the winner of Boots Ennis Shakram Giasov to fight each other to unify those WBA titles. As we know, Ryan versus Rolly is going to be for the regular title, and Boots was just ordered versus Giasov to defend his WBA super title that he won off of Iman Testenionis. I think that Boots likely will fight Giasov. If I'm being honest, we know that Norman's going to be busy with Sasaki. on June 19th. Sounds like July 19th or 26th. We're going to have Barrios versus Pacquiao. I don't think that Boots is going to move up for a little bit. Now that he doesn't just have the IBF, he doesn't have to do that rehydration clause. So he may stay at 147 for a bit longer. And if he does, why not fight Giasov in the meantime? Fight 3 times this year, dude. The Stanionis fight was kind of a cakewalk for him. He can have a fight against Giasov, and Giasov had a cakewalk as well. They can fight in July or August, and then end of the year, November, December, we do the big Ennis versus Norman, or Ennis versus Barrios. I really don't care. And then we could really see Boots leave 147 undisputed. So I would like that fight to happen. We're actually hearing that it may not be against Norman or Barrios. Maybe they fight in the meantime after their next fights, whoever wins those, and then they fight the winner of Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero. It's weird because we know the WBA is ordering that, but then also we know Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney are likely to fight each other after. And Boots could move up to 154. 147 just became such a good division out of nowhere, but we have no idea what the future looks like because there's like 5 different alternatives that are all great options and very likely. So who knows what's really going to happen. DDP's team has said that the Khamzat fight is next. It just won't be an international fight week, but it will be soon after. So I'm hoping they rebook this for maybe, realistically, I don't really know. I actually don't know when it'll be because the July is going to be DDP versus, not DDP, Dustin Poirier, who's also DP, versus Max Holloway. August is likely going to be the Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev rematch, and then in September is going to be UFC Noche, which could be, I don't really know actually who would fight on that card. So maybe it could be DDP Khamzat. I don't know. I just hope they rebook it soon. And I'd honestly be fine with they did DDP Khamzat as opposed to Khamzat Kyle Barajo. But if it's going to be 3+ months, why not? Why not do Khamzat? Give him another fight with Barajo so he can get that win and stay more active and fresh. Eddie Hearn says that Jake Paul Gervonta Davis is going to happen in November. Now, I don't know if he's playing mind games here and trying to leak some stuff. I saw Jake Paul already come out and say, not directed necessarily, super clear, but it was very much a dig at Eddie Hearn, saying, people don't know what they're talking about. So he says that's not happening, or at least, we haven't heard anything yet. We haven't heard anything. He said, we know. I think that he thought that was announced, or he's trying to, stir some stuff up and say, maybe he's heard some discussions and he's just going to take it and leak it. But I don't know. I think that, that fight is potential, and I think Tank may want it, and Jake certainly wants it. I just don't see how they can allow that to happen. Jake literally weighs 70 pounds heavier. It just doesn't make any sense to do that. It's so weird. Clarissa Shields versus Lanny Daniels is next. We're hearing this one could be towards the end of July, likely in Michigan. Toledo did just announce that they signed Lanny Daniels. She is the IBF champion at 175 pounds. We know that Clarissa Shields is undisputed at heavyweight, plus she has a belt at 175, I think. So I'm sure this one may take place at 175 or heavyweight. It's kind of the same thing. Different sanctioning bodies have different rules where some of them say you are a heavyweight as long as you weigh 175 and above. Some say heavyweight is 175 and some say light heavyweight's 175. It's just so weird. But, that one does sound like it's going to be next, which I'm okay with. I would just rather see Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall or someone like that. Turkey is now the president of the Saudi Boxing Federation for the 2024 to 28 term. This is weird. This is pretty much what he already does, but it sounds like this is an actual Saudi Arabia government position, which is just crazy. I'm pretty sure he's part of the royal family. So, I don't know, the Saudi Boxing Federation for meaning he gets elected as that. That's a little bit silly, but okay. He already is pretty much president of Saudi boxing, so he's just got an actual title. It is weird that he's been elected for the 2024-28 term, in the middle of 2025. But who knows? Who cares? That's interesting. MVP have signed 2-time Brazilian Olympian cruiserweight Keno Marley to their promotion. They are really signing a lot of good guys, and they're on a really good run. This guy's at cruiserweight. It should be pretty good. He's a 2-time Olympian. He's finally turning pro. And, I'm excited to see this fight. See when he makes his debut. I bet he could make it on the Jake Paul Chavez card or a prospects card. We don't know. But cool to see that they're signing fighters, potential future world champions that aren't just women. Because as much as I do love the women focus that MVP is doing, they do still need to have some male fighters. What else? Okay, Nina Hughes has been added to the May 25th Top Tier show. I don't know when this actually happened, but I just saw that she was on the graphic, which is a little bit crazy because I don't know where she's from, but I didn't think that she was British, and it's just so random for her to be on there after her 2 world title fights, or even more than that, because she was the champion before the Shanika Johnson fight. So we'll see what she's doing on there. I'm worried she's going to be fighting a journeyman. That could be a pretty big fall off fighting, from world championship fights, being a world champion to fighting a journeyman on a random show at York Hall on a Sunday afternoon. Just kind of odd, but we'll see what happens with that situation. And then, we're almost done, I promise. PFL have changed the date of their Paris event to May 23rd. We don't really know why, but I'm not going to complain because May 24th is looking pretty busy. Josh Taylor's fighting that day. I'd much rather watch that. They are going to now clash with GBM, but that's okay. I'm going to try and watch the PFL Europe events. I definitely want to watch Paul Hughes on May 10th, but it's kind of hard to be able to see them in the United States. Lastly, we've got the undercard announcement for Caleb Plant and Jermall Charlo's Vegas doubleheader on May 31st. This is going to be Yoeli Hernandez versus Kyron Davis. Fantastic fight at middleweight. Real world title implications on the line there. These guys are both top 10, top 15. Yoeli Hernandez, I think he's right on the knocking on the door of a shot against Erislandy Lara. He wants that one. They're both Cuban. I'd love to see it, but this is a really good fight. And then I thought that would maybe just going to be the whole fight card, but we're actually going to have 4 fights. PBC usually only does 3 for their non-pay-per-views, which I don't like. I like them doing 4. And we're going to get Isaac Lucero versus Omar Valenzuela, 2 undefeated guys. I think they're both Mexican as well. And they both have a lot of knockouts on their record. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Excited for that. Really excited for that card. It's going to be a great 4-fight card. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for listening. I'll probably do another episode on Sunday. We're going to break down all of the madness that's sure to happen this weekend. This Eubank Ben build-up has honestly been tremendous. It reminds me of Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia last year. This will probably go down as the best build-up and best rivalry of 2025 boxing. It's just been tremendous and so much fun, and I can't wait to see who the victor is on Saturday and who defends the family name. Thank you so much for listening, and peace out.